couldn't do the job to help you. So I work for the province of New Brunswick, and I love being a civil servant. I really do. I got a job that I love doing. And maybe it's hard to understand, but just because I've got somebody that works for General Motors, or somebody that farms, or somebody that anything else, teaches school, okay? We're all having those kind of things. You asked the question about farmland, all right? And I am going to clarify one little thing.
Yes.
Yep. When we first started these, I think 9 presentations ago, there was a lot of things in there that we considered that were not quite accurate, and that's why I started coming to these. And these presentations are getting one heck of a lot better. You're getting information that's more accurate than what I thought the other stuff was. And it was a learning process on everything. And part of it, the reason I have to be so clear though, was the presentation in Sussex. It was people were left with the impression that if you had certain lands, all you had to do was phone Ron Shaw, and that got put into the paper, the Kings County Record. It said if you want to protect your property, phone Ron Shaw, and that's all you got to do. Ron Shaw got a lot of telephone calls. Though Ron Shaw himself cannot do one darn thing to protect anything, okay?
He can blow the whistle.
It's the legislation.
Blow the whistle.
The Mining Act itself is what provides the protection for that land that you're talking about. Because what it says is that it's cultivated land, special, and the Mining Act defines cultivated land. And it says the part about getting an agreement, you can stake the claims on cultivated land. You can stake the claims there. But you can't do any work of a damaging nature or that interferes with the use and enjoyment of the land without the agreement of the landowner. So the company would come and see you and they'd say, sir, we'd like to drill a hole in your property. You could one of two things. You'd say no, or you'd say, let's talk about it. And if you talk about it, I'll give you one example of a landowner, and I get accused of talking too long, but there is a reason, because there's very many, it's a complicated issue. There was one landowner, a farmer in the Gemsake area, many years ago. A company wanted to drill a hole on his land, and they sent him the notice what they were required to do. It was in April, I think it was, and he was of the impression that if they come in there, they're going to tear up these roads. And he wanted compensation and wanted to know that there was assurance that they would fix the road when it was done. Okay? He and I talked, the company and I talked, and what ended up happening is the landowner said if they come in the summertime after I cut the hay off, he said they can't do any damage because their equipment's not as big as my tractor. So the company said, well, of course we weren't planning on going in there. We got 60 days that we have to try and negotiate with the landowner and explain things. So we're trying to get that stuff out of the way and reach an agreement. They ended up drilling the hole. They drilled it in his field. They didn't find what they were looking for, and they let their claims expire. And that's usually what happens. But that farmer could have said no. The one problem that we didn't have was Mr. Fontaine, much to everybody's regret, didn't know that they could say no. And he was led to believe by the company that he didn't have the right to say no. Okay? That's caused a lot of freaking aggravation for me, for a whole bunch of other people.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good example. And that's why we try to come out there and explain things to people.
Right.
Did I answer your question, sir? Yes. Yes.
Well, isn't it true that you can say no, but after 60 days they can put up a bond of, say, $1,400 to cover the expected damage of a drilling hole and go ahead anyway?
Not if it's pasture, not if it's land in and around your village. If it's
I beg
forested,
to differ, sir. It happened in Penobscot.
no, if it's forested land, and let's stay under the Mining Act. I don't know what happened in
This was
Penobscot.
pasture.
Hmm?
This was pasture land.
Yeah, and would they have had an agreement with
They
the
said
land?
no.
With the landowner?
Landowner said no.
You give me the landowner's name, will you? Because, and they could have under the Oil and Natural Gas Act, it's different. Under the Oil and Natural, if they were exploring for natural gas, that is an entirely different act. There's only about a 10-day period when they have the right to say no, and under that legislation, I think the minister can order them the right to go in. I'm talking about the Mining Act. And that sometimes gets the confusion. That's what happened in that thing, and I don't want to talk any more about that drill hole down at Turtle Creek. Yeah, I've answered his. Yeah, they can't do anything on your fields, your property, your sugar bush. They can't do anything if you got a sugar bush without your permission. And, yeah.
But wait, I want to finish this. Let's say you don't have pasture land. Let's say you're a person with woods,
Yeah,
okay? And it's not a sugar bush.
yeah.
But if someone comes in and wants to drill and you say no, they have 60 days and then they can put up a bond and go right ahead without your permission. Isn't that correct?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just want that to be clear.
What is a tree plantation?
Then we'd have to compensate for damage. And they probably wouldn't cost your money.
Why agriculture?
Yeah.
What is the difference? Why are they not allowed to do agriculture?
Yeah. I'm going to answer this.
Just listen to the question for a second.
There's a lot of people talking, and this gentleman did ask a question, and a
I
lot
want
of
to know
people.
why they can't do it on agricultural land. Why can't they do that?
Yeah, prior to 1986, they could. In 1986, they changed the Mining Act to give more rights to the landowner, and the government in the day then considered, they looked at that cultivated land in and around your pasture, your crops, is land where you've made more of an investment than just ordinary forestry land. Had nothing to do with health, no. It was looked at was you've made an investment in that property. People trying to do mineral claim exploration are making an investment, and look at the two people. If they can reach an agreement, that's fine. If they can't reach an agreement, it's the landowner was there first.
How big are the holes?
They end up going forward with that.
Yeah.
Like a well case.
YouTube's a wonderful thing.
And the drill that they used to use would probably attract more too. My grandfather, my grandmother's family's been in the well drill business for years. And it's smaller.
I'm still trying to imagine why, if a hole is big, what is a 200-acre pasture. And I know the area well, there's a lot of investment in that, but really how much damage would be done to a pasture, of a 200-acre pasture, to put a hole down this size into a pasture? Like really, is that what the argument is? It's just because the farmers put a lot of work in it? That doesn't seem to make sense to me. Like, it wouldn't even amount to $100 worth of work for something to do. But just wait a minute. There's a reason for my question. And I'm saying, I think maybe it has to do with health and not the money that the farmers got in the field. Because really, what a hole this big, that's one potato stalk. So that's a lame argument to say that the reason why you can't go on farmland is because of the investment that the farmer is going to lose. So the only thing I sort of think, well, maybe it has to do with health then. The crops, the contamination, the water and all that. So if that's the case, what's the difference if I have a 50-acre woodlot? Why is the mining company allowed to come on my woodlot? Where's the difference? I've got an investment in a woodlot.
If your thinking was that way, you'd be 100% right. I'm agreeing with him. If the thinking was that way, sir, it wasn't.
So how do we change that? How do we change that tonight?
You can't change it tonight. You can make suggestions.
I'm not saying that.
No. Well, one of the things that you could suggest, would be that what essentially would happen in a case like that is the Crown would be given up ownership of the minerals, because the Crown owns the minerals. If you go back and you check your original land grant for most properties in New Brunswick, not the deed that you got it from somebody, but when it was originally granted, our forefathers decided that they wanted mineral exploration to stay with the Crown. The ownership of minerals to stay with the Crown because they realized the importance of mining. And so the Crown, when they granted the land in the first place, there's clauses in there that says reserving to the Crown the right to
And
all
the Crown is
copper,
the people.
gold, silver, copper, lead, and coals, and all other mines and minerals. There was questions asked the other day in the presentations. You know, we had discussions on wind energy. We had discussions on tidal